You, dropping in for a chat, or what?
There's something uniquely satisfying about putting down roots in a sleepy town. Palia evolves the tradition of games like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley to great effect, injecting large-scale multiplayer into that tried-and-true formula. After more than 70 hours of chopping down trees, hunting woodland critters, decorating my home, and hanging out with my fellow Palians, I've had a fantastic time catching up on all I've missed since the early days of the beta. There are beautiful regions to explore, interesting items and artifacts to craft or collect, and lots of compelling quests to complete. And the new content in the Elderwood expansion that arrived alongside its recent console launch added quite a bit to what was already a life-consuming vortex of coziness. That said, Palia still feels quite unfinished in some ways, with a story that abruptly cuts off and some pretty serious performance issues. But it's easy to forgive much of that when you and your friends are enjoying a quiet evening of fishing together. Palia is a cozy life sim with one major tweak. You're in an online world that occasionally compels you to come out of your shell and interact with other humans. You can do the vast majority of activities by yourself, but you'll encounter others out in the shared world going about their business as you explore, and are encouraged to cooperate with them. For example, you'll get a buff for fishing with others, and will find magical trees that can only be chopped down with the help of one or more friends. This has led to a community that's astoundingly positive and helpful, with the vast majority of the public chat being PSAs from players who have found a valuable resource they'd like to share with strangers, then waiting for minutes on end for everyone to assemble before collecting it as a group. There's also just a whole heck of a lot for you to do, however you decide to tackle it, all in service of building up your home and improving your relationships with the NPC townsfolk. The usual Zen-like staples of cooking and catching bugs are all here, and actually quite good. The fishing minigame, for example, is less mindless than you usually find in the genre, having you tug and pull on your rod as the fish leaps into the air and puts up a fight. There's even a few less common options, like hunting, where you'll pick off poor critters who burrow into the ground and leap into trees as you pepper them with arrows. While an absence of stress is an intentional focus of Palia's design, it sometimes tries a bit too hard to accomplish that goal, like in how your arrows will magically home in on your target incredibly aggressively, sometimes turning corners to aid your aim. I'm all for a laid-back experience, but it can be a bit obnoxious when you're trying to line up a shot and the magnetism training wheels curve your arrow toward a different creature altogether, frustrating what's supposed to be a chill activity. Palia has a surprisingly full-featured main story. You'll explore ancient ruins to uncover the truth about a world which was once populated by humans who are curiously gone now, and the dark history of magic that seemingly caused the collapse of society. This adventure is much more lighthearted than that might sound though, and you're mostly just given opportunities to learn about the world and hang out with the characters who accompany you on quests while you platform around and solve simple puzzles. Per its adherence to cozy virtues, none of this is particularly demanding, and the mainline quests can be completed in a matter of hours if you focus on them. But I enjoyed diving just a tad deeper into the world and the break from grinding for iron ore to craft the next piece of furniture I just couldn't live without. That said, while I enjoy the tale Palia tells, it feels disappointingly incomplete compared to every other aspect of the adventure, even after the Elderwood expansion, as it ends abruptly with a cliffhanger before it even finishes its opening act. Thankfully, there are plenty of distractions and mini-games to mix things up, like a hot pot themed card game I spent way too much time playing, or a surprisingly intricate platforming puzzle that took me hours to master. Sometimes these experiments exceed Palia's grasp, like the platforming sections in particular, which are held back by clunky controls that don't seem like they were designed with precision in mind. Climbing can be quite an irritating experience, as your character will let go of surfaces inconsistently, sending you plummeting to your death. But the stakes in taking these spills are always very low, so there's not much to lose aside from a bit of your time wasted. Of course, the purpose behind all these undertakings is to gain as much gold as you can to upgrade and decorate your home, and Palia's got one of the better home building systems I've seen. Rather than giving you no control over the blueprint of your house like in Disney Dreamlight Valley, or making you monkey around with a building mode that has you placing individual walls like The Sims, Palia favors a modular system. You unlock schematics for pieces of a home that you can freely snap onto various parts of your building, making it easy to design the general layout without having to get lost in the weeds. Then, once you've built your place, you can decorate it down to the most minute detail, dragging furniture, dolls, and cups around on a grid to make it just so. I could probably spend dozens of hours on this part of Palia alone, were it not for my insatiable need for cold hard cash to fund my homestead expansion. But that desire to make your place exactly as awesome as you want it to be is a serious motivator that sent me out in search of lumber and iron ore time and time again. Those resource grinds each have their own progression systems as well, as you level up by repeatedly going out into the world and bringing back your haul of raw materials and collectibles to sell. As you plant trees and craft furniture, you'll unlock new equipment, like a loom for creating fabric or a furnace for creating glass. You also get better tools to perform cozy chores with, like a watering can that lets you water your plants faster, or a bow and arrows that will let you take down prey in fewer shots, each of which feels like a handy upgrade that shows up right when you start feeling a need for it. The time gating that sometimes balks you out of marathoning through everything in other life sims is mercifully absent here for the most part, so you can move as fast or as slow as you care to.
You, dropping in for a chat, or what?
The other major pursuit in Palia is in getting to know and develop relationships with its 26 NPC residents, most of whom are really well written and have a lot more to them than meets the eye. Most have an arc that takes place over several quests, where they let you see a bit more of their personality as you forge a friendship. I quite enjoyed hanging out with the sarcastic and moody daughter of the mayor, Kenyatta, who worked the front desk with all the enthusiasm of April from Parks and Recreation.
You look lovely.
I'm going to murder you 1,000 times.
Okay.
But after helping her down the extremely chaotic path of discovering what she's passionate about in life, I grew to appreciate her in a less superficial way.
Yeah.
Even characters I didn't really jive with, like Eloisa, a cryptid-obsessed hippie who annoyed me to no end, was at least entertainingly irritating. And of course, if you're looking for more than friendship, you can partake in Palia's quite strong dating mechanics to get yourself a girlfriend or boyfriend, or several of them. No judging here. Palia has come a long way since I first played it over a year ago, but one thing that remained true after this latest update is that it's still missing quite a bit. Even with the beefy new Elderwood map joining the original two, the number of areas to explore is fairly small, and though they've got nooks and crannies for you to discover, you can more or less see most of what's available in a few hours. Social features, though awesome when they happen, still feel quite slim for a game where the signature twist is its online functionality, and there aren't enough activities that encourage group play. And although there are quite a few options for decorating your house, surprisingly little of it can be interacted with once placed. You can't lie in bed, turn on the sink, or really do much of anything with most objects, which sometimes made me feel like I was building a museum rather than a home. Elderwood isn't planned to be the final update or anything, so these are shortcomings that will hopefully be built out in the future, but I'm a bit surprised that some of them aren't farther along all the same. The other major issue with Palia has been its bugs and performance issues, which have gotten remarkably better, but are still pretty common. I quite frequently see NPCs sink into the floor, sometimes altogether hidden underground to the point where I can't interact with them. There's a bunch of very visible pop-in that happens while you're running around, and loading times when traveling between each section of the map feel far longer than they should. Playing on the Nintendo Switch is especially eyebrow-raising, as everything looks pretty awful and runs significantly worse, to the point where I really can't recommend it on that platform in the same way I enthusiastically would elsewhere. Palia is a fantastic multiplayer cozy life sim with strong characters to bond with, engaging activities to grind, and a nearly endless chase for more resources to build your perfect home in the world's kindest village. I wouldn't have guessed that the cozy sensibilities of Animal Crossing would mix well with the online design of an MMO, but it's difficult to pull myself away from setting off fireworks with friends and helping the bumbling mayor find his misplaced sandwich, even after more than 70 hours. There's still plenty of room for Palia to grow, whether it's the surprisingly brief story we've gotten thus far, a scarcity of multiplayer-focused activities to engage with, and enough bugs and performance issues to put a not-so-cuddly fly in the otherwise soothing ointment. But it's still a great candidate for your next virtual vacation.
Executive Reviews editor Tom Marks here with Travis Northup to talk about his review of Palia a little bit more in depth and his cozy life sim tastes. Travis, I mentioned last time he joined me in one of these chats that he reviews everything. He reviews a bunch of stuff from sweaty, try-hard Elder Scrolls games and Elden Ring games and all those sorts of things. But you did also carve out a little bit of a niche for yourself within the cozy space for us. You reviewed Disney Dreamlight Valley, you reviewed Aloft's Early Access, you also reviewed Schedule 1, which apparently is a cozy game, which I didn't know, but there we are.
Neither did I.
Yeah. But let's talk about a little bit of that and your tastes and all that sort of thing. Over on the review of Palia on IGN.com, we have your playlist of your favorite cozy life sim style games. And let's talk about those a little bit. What draws you to the genre, and what are some of your favorites in that genre?
Yeah, I think the thing I love about the cozy genre is that I play a lot of like sweaty games, like multiplayer games and Souls-likes and stuff like that, and I kind of always have. And so I just like a variety and a change of pace where you can do something completely different. And the idea of like taking things super slow. I think my first cozy game was probably the original Animal Crossing on GameCube. I think that was like most people's, right? And then, you know, there were a few surprises after that, like Viva Pinata. I should actually add that to my playlist. Viva Pinata is one of the best cozy games ever. My playlist also includes visual novels, which I think a lot of people would probably disagree is a cozy game, but I have like Ace Attorney on there because Ace Attorney is pretty awesome. But I just like these games where, you know, you don't have to sweat too much and you don't have to worry about a pause button or anything, and it's very low stakes and you can do it. It's just such a nice change of pace from the types of games I play most of the time. So I've really enjoyed reviewing a lot of cozy games for IGN and hope to continue to do so.
Yeah, and we talked about that previously for, I can't remember which review it was, but in the past, of cozy as a genre label in the way horror is, rather in the way that
That's
like
right.
RPG is, right? Where you might consider something like Phoenix Wright cozy yourself, because that's sort of, the vibe is cozy, not that it is a life sim necessarily. Those two things are very, very different.
That's true. I think we had a big debate over this, I think I've come to agree with your initial premise, which is that, you know, the life sim of, for example, Dave the Diver is kind of, I don't know, survival game? I don't know what you would kind of call that, but it is also cozy just in its like general vibe. So yeah, cozy is kind of a vibe, and it's additive to like the actual genre of like what the game is like, right? So Minecraft is definitely a survival game, but I would also describe it as pretty cozy. Although it has boss fights, I don't know, man. It's a vibe, right? Yeah.
Genres don't make any sense. We don't have to try to solve that right here, right now at the end of this review.
It's true.
Let's talk about life sims specifically and kind of what you look for, what you like, what you're drawn to within them. Is it, you know, are you all in on the relationship NPC stuff, or does the fishing mini game really matter to you most? Is it house customization? Like, what's your favorite part within those?
Yeah, I think the end game in most life sims is building your house and making like a personal safe haven for yourself. I don't really know why that is so alluring, but it really is, right? Like you play Animal Crossing and you're just like, I want my house to have 3 stories, and I want to have one room that's like this super decked out gaming room. So I think it is like a carrot that keeps you going, but I really do like games that have relationship building, and not all of them do. Like I would say Animal Crossing is like pretty light on them. It's not like you're improving social links and getting romance options, but Palia, on the other hand, goes in the complete opposite direction. They full on have like dating sim mechanics in it that are pretty cool, and I have really developed a fondness for dating sims. I think it was probably Mass Effect 2 or, you know, Knights of the Republic, one of those like RPG games that made me realize, you know, there's something to this. It's kind of satisfying getting to like the next unlock is learning a little bit more about them and like figuring out what the next chapter in their story was. A lot of it really is like developing that progression. Like, you don't really think of that when you play a life sim, but like it really is that feeling of like, oh, I'll log off right after I do this one thing, and then when you finish that thing, like another thing pops up organically, and you're like, all right, well, I'll craft this and then I'll go to bed, and it just keeps kind of piling. I think that's really what tickles my brain with this genre.
The last thing I want to touch on is something, again, that you also mentioned in the review, but I want to dig into a little bit further. You mentioned at the end that you would not recommend this game on Switch. And this review specifically, to be clear, is just of the PC, PlayStation, and Xbox versions, because you played it on all the platforms throughout its early access life and then now at its console launch. But the Switch version is worse, right? And to peel back the curtain a little bit, we do Switch specific reviews for sometimes for games that are coming to multiple platforms. We did that for Mortal Kombat 1 because that game was just really different. We're not doing that here. We're just specifically not reviewing this Switch version because you said it just doesn't sort of line up with what you played elsewhere. And can you just dig into that a little more? And is it really that bad? Because I think people probably are looking forward to it on Switch.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is that bad. When you're playing on the Switch, it is a markedly different experience, whether it's like the load times between areas or the draw distance with like objects loading right in front of you. There's like a lot of stuttering as well right now, which is also on that appears on like Xbox and PlayStation and PC as well, but like less frequently. And then just like people's faces loading right in front of you when you're talking to them. Like, you'll talk to an NPC character and face will be all like smooth and low poly, and it'll like slowly get like texture layers added to it, like a Mr. Potato Head doll getting like eyes and noses slapped onto it. It's very awkward, and it just runs really badly on the Switch. And the weird thing about that is that the Switch was actually the second platform that was added to this game after PC, while it was still fairly early in the beta. And I think it was maybe a year ago, maybe 6 to 12 months for sure, that they added it. And back then I played it and it did work. You know, it wasn't as good as playing it on the PC in terms of performance, but it worked a lot better than it's running today. And just digging in online, looking at the Discord and what other people were saying, it seems that the version for Switch has sort of deteriorated over time, culminating in this expansion, the Elderwood expansion that came out alongside the Xbox and PlayStation versions. It's just gotten to the point where it's barely functional, and it seems like something that they need to address.
Well, Travis, thank you so much for digging a little deeper into your review and your cozy sensibilities here. If you want more from Travis, another cozy game you reviewed, we mentioned Schedule 1, a drug dealing simulator, but we ran a poll on IGN in the review for that one, and 85% of people agreed that calling it a cozy game is appropriate. So maybe if you are a cozy life sim fan and missed that one, you can check it out. Check out Travis's review. Otherwise, we reviewed Inzoi in its early access back in March. That's another life sim, a little bit more traditional sim style life sim that you can check out there. And for everything else, stick with IGN.